Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to RWBY Volume 9, Chapter 4. And I hate being spoiled. And I haven't gotten spoiled on anything that actually happens in the episode, but I have been spoiled on apparently at least what some people feel the quality of this episode is. And I've said in the past that that's not as big a deal to me, but this was like a lot and it was everywhere. So apparently there's multiple people who worked on this episode, or on the series, I guess, in general, who have been hyping the shit out of this episode. I don't know why. I don't know like what's gonna happen. Um, but this has been hyped up to hell. I guess the people who are doing it have been animators, sound designers, just people who have worked on it in general. And I've been seeing these like tweets and everything all over the place, and I've been avoiding as much as I can. Obviously, I don't know anything that happens in this episode. I don't know any actual spoilers. I was gone all day today. I'm actually getting to this quite late because I wasn't even home to see any spoilers. I was out today. Um, but yeah, I just I really wish I hadn't seen all of that. Now, mind you, I might not have the same opinion coming out of this. Like, I might not be as hyped about it as they were. But that kind of does lead into giving me expectations for the episode. Even though I'm going to still go into it as blind as possible, and mind you, with how I've been enjoying this volume so far, I honestly feel like I'm probably going to love this episode. Um, Getting to hear that and everything, hearing the way people are talking about this episode, it creates expectations that I don't like having. I want to go into this as not only as blind as possible, but as, how would I put it, as expectationless as possible. I don't want to have like expectations on whether or not it's going to be good outside of just like, oh, I already like this show, so I already think this is going to be good. I don't want to have any kind of outside interference telling me that, oh, this episode is great. I'm so excited for people to see it. It's gonna be big and everything. It's like I don't want to hear that shit. Again, not actual spoilers, but it bothers me when I hear that shit. If you just want to say like, oh, you really like this episode or whatnot, that's one thing. But when you're like really hyping it up that hard, it's like you're going a little far with it to the point where it's getting a little much. You know what I mean? It's like say that you enjoyed the episode, even say that you enjoyed working on the episode, but just don't go that far. Um anyway, so last time we met the Red Prince because apparently the Red King is not around. We don't actually have confirmation that he's dead, but it's possible. It's quite possible. Ruby challenges the Red Prince to a game, and it's kind of this chess-like game, but not quite the same. But it involves Weiss, Blake, and Yang being shrunk down and having to fight alongside the pawns. So, in the end, they do end up quote unquote winning. I use that term loosely because the game kind of, let's be honest, it just kind of abruptly ended. Because the prince was trying to cheat at first, and then he kind of threw a hissy fit and just kind of like, just all the rules kind of went out the window quickly, but he just kind of ignored everything after he found out that at least three of them are human. And so at that point, it's like, let's be honest, the game wasn't in effect anymore. And Blake, Yang, and Weiss beating the pawns on both sides doesn't make them win. So Ruby's declaration, it's like, we won, you have to help us get to the tree. It's like, you really didn't. The game just kind of imploded. No one won. There was no winner and technically no loser. The game imploded. It just kind of ended. So, yeah. But the curious cat helps them escape, and they continue on. And I think the knight is next. I think the knight was the next thing that they're going to come across, but I might be wrong. Which is going to be Jean, obviously. But the ending of last episode also shows us Neo. And there was something in that part that I didn't catch. It's just, I didn't think about it. So, Neo finally lands as well. She landed somehow a little after RWBY. But she lands on the island in the dark quadrant of the island, where she ends up coming across the Jabberwocker that we had seen before. At this point, she subjugates the Jabberwocker, from what we can tell, against the Jabberwocker's will. And that's going to lead into what comes later on, clearly. But one thing I didn't quite realize is that her semblance evolved. And I've seen a couple of other reactions to this now, and they were pointing that out, and it's like, yeah, I guess it did. It didn't occur to me while reacting to it, but it's like, when you see, like, her semblance kind of, like, pulsating out from her, and then when the clones of her start to pop up, the illusion clones of her, you can see she's actively surprised by it. Like, this is something she was not trying to do. It just kind of happened because of her semblance evolving. And then you see she just kind of goes with it. She snaps her fingers and has them subjugate the Jabberwocker. But, yeah, you see it, like, actively surprises her. It's something that she has never been able to do before, clearly. It's just like, when reacting to it, I guess it just didn't occur to me somehow. But that's interesting, and that kind of raises questions. Like, I've already heard someone question, it's like, so are the people behind her in the opening then maybe just a new power from her semblance evolving? And it's like, maybe. It's possible, because you see these shadowed figures behind her in the opening, and it's like, it's possible. We don't know, but I guess we'll see. I'm very interested in where this is going, though. Like, this has been fantastic so far. Honestly, I could definitely see this continuing the trend that I've had with this series into where each volume, I believe, is better than the last. Even with my issues with Volume 8, I still think it was better than Volume 7, and by extension, every other volume as well. I'm thinking this one could keep that tradition alive. I would be surprised if it didn't at this point. It's still really fucking good. So yeah, I don't know what to expect. I'm going to try to temper my expectations. We'll see how it goes. Let's get this going. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then it fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episodes. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, sorry for the lag. I looked up Christopher Guerrero, and apparently he's Ainsul Gown in Overlord, and a couple other voices here and there. Nothing like huge I would know the voice for, but this was a really interesting episode because it was both triumphant and concerning. Triumphant for Weiss, Yang, and Blake, but concerning for RWBY. And like I said in the reaction, this goes into what I was saying last time about the fact that RWBY is going to have to fall, and she's going to have to fall hard. She's going to have a major downfall, a major low point that she can only climb back out of. And this is definitely the catalyst for that. So I think that this is good. Good for the story, good for her character overall, but obviously in the moment, not going to be comfortable and everything, not going to be enjoyable, but yeah. This episode was, it was good. It was really good, obviously. I had no issues with it, but it's like, I feel like again, the people who worked on it, I guess, who were hyping it up like crazy, it's like, okay, it wasn't that great. Like, like it wasn't like it wasn't that great. Like again, the part at the end with them becoming triumphant and acknowledging their pasts and working through them apart from Ruby, it's like acknowledging how all their downfalls have led to who they are now. It's like that was great. That was amazing, but it's not enough to call this episode as a whole like phenomenal or whatnot. The episode was still just really good. It was over exaggerated for sure. Honestly, as a whole on the episode, maybe just my first impressions, that might change after rewatches, but just on first impressions, I would say last episode was still better. Last episode, I think, is still the best episode of the volume so far. This one might be second or third, but again, I'm gonna have to see it again to really get a better feel for it. So maybe by next week I'll be able to let you know if I remember. But yeah, we get to meet the herbalist in this one, and he's the hookah smoking caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland. And in here, he apparently has the possible ability to create this thing to bring them back, but also, or to bring them back to normal size, but also seems to be like questioning them, like even more nefariously than the curious cat, and is, you know, giving them visions of their past who are like questioning their motivations and everything. And again, the others are able to escape it, but Ruby almost falls for it. If the curious cat hadn't stopped it, she would have probably fallen a lot more than she's even going to. But yeah, I'm wondering what the thing with the cat is though, with the fact that they're able to give like part of their heart away, like with what they said here, because they did that last episode with the Red Prince, and now they did it this episode with the herbalist. So what is that going to mean? That's something I'm very curious about. But we see that is kind of the main goal right now, even before just heading to the tree, which apparently you can't head to. You have to basically allow it to lead you to it, basically, from what we can tell from what the cat said. But in the meantime, like, they tell the cat everything about what had happened and all with them. And I like the little like call out to like, did CL that CL girl ever return in any meaningful way? And it's like everybody's been wondering where she was during all of that. Everybody wanted CL Soleil to return as well, so it's like that was really funny. The fact that was like a common thing that people were calling for. It's like more so than like Neon Cat and Flint Cole. People wanted to see her because of Penny's return, especially, and their previous teamwork in the Vital Festival. So it's like, yeah, that just never came to be. But we see that the cat is asking them all these questions and learning all this stuff, getting to play around with the scroll, and along the way, they end up reaching the garden, which is this like magical mushroom forest. But the cat gets distracted by a bug and heads away, and that's when they meet the herbalist. It's a pretty straightforward episode. There's not too much to talk about, but I want to talk about, just really briefly to end this off, my thoughts on each of the other threes outside of Ruby's, the other three members of the team, and their conflicts that were presented. Yang's entire idea of like becoming whole again, getting her arm back, is what is clearly the idea there, as well as, you know, taking the easy way out, avoiding unnecessary danger, avoiding difficult situations. We see Weiss with her, the conflict centers around her name and her position and everything. And Blake, it's about her as a faunus. Wouldn't she rather be something else, just a straight up human or a straight up cat? And all of them rejected this. Yang is like, all of these difficulties, all of these pains have led me to where I am now. They've made me who I am. Weiss is like, I have a troubled family history. My grandfather was a hero, but my father was a villain. It's like, I have to make my name for myself. I have to be the person to decide my own fate and what my name comes to mean. And Blake is all about, yes, the fight for fauna civil rights is hard and troublesome, but it's worth it. The faunus are as much a part of my identity as I am of theirs. And we need to not ignore that, not push away from that, but embrace that in order to see the change that we want to see. And so it's a really triumphant, great moment for all three of them that helps them really shine as characters and shows how far they've all come. Because all three of them have grown immensely. People have been pointing out Blake a lot lately, but obviously Weiss has grown immensely. And a lot of people don't point it out with Yang as much as I think they should, but Yang is not the same as she was at the beginning of the series. She is very different as well. She has matured a lot. She has, let's be honest, calmed down a lot. She's become a lot stronger in not just physical ability, but in terms of her emotional stability as well. She is in a much better place than when she started. And I think that's important to see. All three of them have grown excellently. And I can't wait to see how they continue to do so. But RWBY, unfortunately, has lost so much hope that she's on the verge of having a full-on breakdown. And again, we need this to happen. We need her to reach that lowest point. Because she can't come back out of it without hitting rock bottom first. And it's going to be really heavy. It's going to be emotional. It's going to be harsh. But we have to hit that. And we know that Yang, Weiss, and Blake will be there to help her get out of that as well. And Little as well, of course. But yeah, it's something that we have to go through. And I think it's going to make RWBY even better and stronger afterwards. Because RWBY's grown as well, but let's be honest, RWBY has grown the least out of the four of them. She's grown, she's matured, she's become a lot stronger and a lot more determined. But let's be honest, out of the four of them, she has grown the least. And this is going to be her big moment, her big time to really feel that growth, to really hit her stride. This is going to be what changes her and makes her reach the same level as the other three. And I think that's a good thing. I love that they're doing this. So, yeah, I thought this episode was pretty great, but again, not as great as everyone was making it seem. I still think that, as of now, the last episode was better, but that could change with rewatches and stuff. It could just be recency bias talking. Rewatches might change my mind one way or the other on this, so who knows? We'll not form a full opinion yet until I've seen it more times, so yeah. In the meantime, I would love to know your thoughts. So tell me down below, what did you think of this episode of RWBY Volume 9? And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.